You know, the quotes are very powerful. Why? Because they are very simple, yet they have powerful meanings, and also they easily get stick in our brain and in our mind. So when we go through tough times in life, when we go through problems, they will help us immensely. So that is why it is very important to keep in your memory some motivational and inspirational quotes. Okay, so this quote from the Buddha has helped me in many times in my life, and it changed the whole perspective about how we should deal with the people in the society. How can I deal with the people in the society? So the quote goes like this. The Buddha says, Sabbang paravasang dukkhang, sabbang issariyang sukhang, sadharane vihanyanti, yogahi duratikkamo. The Buddha says, Sabbang paravasang dukkhang. All under another's control is a suffering. Sabbang issariyang sukhang. All under your control, what is under your control is a blessing for your life. Sadharane vihanyanti. The one who expects this world to be equal to everyone and to fair to everyone, he will end up stressed. And yogahi duratikkamo. Finally, he says, to escape from the bonds from this world and these expectations and attachments from this world is a very, very tough task. So this is the powerful quote that changed the perspective about the society in my life. Why? Because Buddha says, what is under others' control is a suffering. Because in life, we are so busy trying to control what is not under our control. Okay? So what are the things that are not under your control? People's reaction, people's criticism, and how people behave in front of you, how people think of you, what happens to you in the future, all these things are not under your control. The Buddha says that all that is not under your control is a suffering. So do not try to change it. Do not worry about it, because you will end up in suffer. And in the second line, the Buddha says, all that is under your control is a blessing for your life. So it is very important to know what is under your control. So what are the things that are under your control? Everything, every experience that happens to you is not under your control. You know it now. But the reaction towards the every experience is under your control. Okay? People will come and trigger you to be angry. Okay? People can try to make you angry, but you have to make the choice to be angry. So that choice is under your control. You made that choice. So your thoughts, how you think, your thought pattern, your habits, right? Everything that is personal in your life is under your control. If you can do something about it, do it. Go for it and change it. Then you can find the peacefulness and happiness. So it is very important to know what is under your control and what is not. Then you can live happily in this world. So in the third line, the Buddha says, Sadharane vihanyanti. The one who chase behind the fairness and the ones who expect this world to be fair and equal will end up stressed. You see, this world is built up upon the unfairness, right? If you want to make this whole world fair and equal, right, you will not get that result, okay? So that is why if you expect that everything to be fair, you will end up stressed. That is what Buddha says. And the Buddha says, yogahi duratikkamo. It is very difficult to escape from all these attachments and bonds towards this world. Because when you get too much attached to something, you know what happens. You will end up in suffering. These quotes has helped me in my life in many times. So I think it will be helpful for yourself too. So keep these quotes in your mind and use them whenever you go through tough times in your life. Namo Buddhaya. Namo Buddhaya. Welcome to another video. In today's video, we are going to discuss about another good quality that we all need to practice in our life, but we often forget this to practice. Now, what is this? It is called mudita. In another word, it is called appreciative joyfulness. What do you mean by this mudita? Mudita is the ability of being happy when you see someone else's happiness. For an example, let's say you're on social media and in the same time you're having a bad day. Now, when you scroll down, you see these nice pictures of people enjoying their life, living the best days in their life, being happy, and you're not having that life currently. In that case, what do you feel? The first thing that we feel is we feel down about ourselves. We think like, my life is terrible. My life is worse. Okay? And the next step is, for some people, they feel a little bit of angry about those people. And that is called envy. Okay? So the Buddha teaches us to practice mudita to avoid jealousy in your mind or avoid envy in your mind. Okay, so how to do that? This is a very simple practice, but to get used to it is very, very difficult, because for a long time, for a long period of time, we have practiced this envy in our mind. Okay, you know, the nature of mind is the more we practice something for a long time, it gets normal. Okay, it gets easier. That is why we are so good at these evil things like, you know, being angry. Okay, being jealous, being distracted, okay, and being envious on others. That is why we are so good at those things. The Buddha teaches us to practice as a daily practice this practice of mudita, being happy on other people's happiness. Okay, let's say now you're seeing someone who is better than you. Okay, more successful than you, more pretty than you, more clever than you. Let's say you're seeing someone like that. The first thing that you have to do is you have to wish the well-being of them, right? Think like, may they be successful even more. May they be happy even more in their life. You have to wish this from the bottom of your heart. You have to mean it, and you have to feel it. Okay? When you do that, you feel happy. Okay? You don't feel the discomfort of envy. And also, in the same time, when you generate these mudita, thoughts of mudita, you generate a huge power in your mind to heal your mind and to be successful in your personal life. Okay? That is the power of mudita. Being jealousy, being envy on someone's life will never help you to be successful. Okay? Will never get you anywhere. One of the things that my teacher has taught me in my life is that don't be jealousy on someone's life, because jealousy will never help you to be successful. Okay? Jealousy will never help you to thrive and be more productive. And it will keep you in the same place, okay, without being successful, keep you in the same place, and it lets you to be angry on other people. So what we have to do, whenever we see some people who are better than us, we have to think that may they be better than us even more. Okay, may they be happy in their life even more. And that is called mudita. Okay, you can do, and you can start this practice from the people who are around you. Okay, there are people around you in your home, in your family. Start from them. Okay, wish the well-being of people around you. Okay, wish the well-being of your neighbors, your people who are in your city, your classroom, your school, your country. Okay, if you can spread those thoughts of mudita, you try and say this, you will feel much better in your heart. Okay, even when you feel down, and even when you are in your bad days in your life, you can be happy about your life, because you are not comparing your life to other people. The reason why we feel jealousy and envy in our mind is we are constantly comparing our life to other people's life. We are so good at that. The more we compare our life to other people's life, the more we feel down about our personal life. Okay? So this is not something that we have to do. Okay? Instead of harboring jealousy and envy in our mind, the Buddha teaches us practice the thoughts of mudita. Be happy on seeing other people's happiness. When you practice this, you will feel a big difference in your mind. Okay? And you will feel a big success in your personal life. So remember, mudita is the best medicine for the envy and jealousy in our mind. Namo Buddhaya. Still, I can remember this incident. When I was little, when I was at school, one of my teachers came to our noisy classroom and she asked from us, "Do you know why you have given 2 ears and 1 mouth?" Then she said, "The reason why we have given 2 ears and 1 mouth is to talk less and to listen more." Ladies and gentlemen, when we deal with people in our relationship life, in your family life, in your workspace, if you have this quality of active listening, that can help you in many ways. This quality can help you in many ways. Okay? Now, so many people come to our temple and they talk with the monks with their problems and about their family problems, the problems in the workspace. And there's one thing that they all say, and that is, they say, they are not listening to me. They are not willing to pay attention to me. They cannot understand me. That is one thing that they say. So if you have the art of active listening, if you practice the art of active listening, you will be liked by many people, right? People always like to talk with someone who is paying more attention to them, right? If you consider about the Buddha, Buddha was a great listener. At one time, one man comes up to the Buddha and he starts insulting him, right? He starts blaming him. All through that incident, the only thing that Buddha did was he listened to that person, right? He paid a good attention to that person. And in another time, one lady comes with her son died on her hand, and she was wailing and she was lamenting in front of the Buddha. And the only thing that the Buddha did was, he paid attention to that lady's suffering, right? He listened to that lady's suffering. So if you can practice this art of active listening, if you can listen more and talk less, people will start to like you. Remember that. For an example, if you come up to me, right? If you wanted to talk about a problem that you are having in your life, and from the beginning of the conversation, if I started to give you instructions and give you the advice and my opinions about that problem, what would you feel? You will start to think like, this monk cannot understand me. He's not willing to pay attention to me. He's not willing to listen to me. So practice this art of active listening. So how can we practice the listening? Well, the Buddha said that all the words that we speak from our mouth is pre-processed in our mind. That means we think first all these words and then we put it into our mouth and we speak. So if we can be mindful about what we think, what is going on in our mind, then it is very easy to control what you speak. And then it is very easy to know when to speak and when not to speak. So this practice is called, being mindful about the thoughts is called Chittanupassana in Buddhism, right? For that, the only thing that we have to do is like just sit in a quiet place and just watch our thoughts, what comes to our mind. We don't want to react with that thought. We don't want to chase behind that thought. Just identify the thought as just a thought. That is one practice that you can practice to be a good listener. And also, there's another way to practice this listening ability is to engage in conversations and try to listen more to that person. So in the next conversation that you're having, try this out. Go to someone, and if they wanted to talk with you, just from the beginning of the conversation, tell it to yourself that I'm going to listen to this person more. I'm going to pay attention to this person more. That is one way of paying and showing your love and affection to the person that is in front of you, right? That is why lending a good ear and listening to someone and sharing their suffering or problems with them is one way of showing your compassion and love towards them. Okay, so in the next conversation, when you go through that, just listen more to them. Let them put out what is in their mind. And when they go silent, and then you have to ask some more questions. Tell me, how did you do that, right? How it happened, right? Tell me more about the details that happened. Then they will be more interested in talking with you, and they will start to like you and love you. When you practice this, then you will get used to this active listening, okay? And also remember, do not listen to someone just to reply to them or just to give your opinion to them. Always listen to people to understand about their situation, to understand who the person behind these words, and to understand the intention behind these words. When you do that, then you will become an active and a good listener, and then you will be liked by many people. So that is all about the active listening. Be mindful about your thoughts and listen more than you talk. Keep that in your mind. Namo Buddhaya. Namo Buddhaya. Welcome and welcome back to another video. I think you can remember in last video we talk about how little changes, little things can make big changes in our life. Okay, so in life the little things matter the most. So in this video I'm gonna be sharing with you 3 simple daily practices that can make a huge impact in all of our lives. So if you practice this, it is guaranteed that it can help you in many ways. Okay, so without further ado, let's dive into the video. So the first practice is to practice gratitude, right? So most of the time we are not happy with the life that we have gotten, right? We think my life is terrible, right? This is worthless. I'm not worth living. But when you practice gratitude, the first thing that we can do is to be grateful for our life. Every day when you wake up in the morning, just close your eyes and think, I am grateful for the life that I have gotten, right? I'm grateful for every experience that the life have given me, that made me strong, that taught me many lessons. So be grateful for your life first. As the second step, be grateful for every person who is living around you. Okay, there are many people who have taught you many lessons, good or bad. Okay, there are good people who have given you nice memories, and there are bad people who have taught you good lessons to your life. Be grateful for everyone, no matter who the person is. It doesn't matter. Okay, so the one practice is to practice the gratitude. That is very simple. Take a few moments to do that. So the second practice is to practice mindfulness. During your day, take a few moments, maybe like 5 minutes or 10 minutes, to be mindful about what you are doing. To be mindful, you don't want to sit in one place or like do in a meditation posture. All what you have to do is to be mindful or to focus your mind to what you're doing. Maybe like if you're walking, just know that you're walking. Be mindful about it. Pay your attention to it. Okay? Or sit in a quiet place, or sit in a relaxed place. Sit on a chair, maybe sit in the meditation posture, and just focus on the in-breath and the out-breath, how you breathe. Okay? That is one practice that you can practice to be mindful. And the final practice is to have a positive self-talk. Instead of positive self-talk, what we are doing, we talk negatively to ourselves. We think like, oh, I'm worst, right? I don't have any value in this life. Nobody loves me. Nobody takes care of me. The more you do it, it will make you a habit, and it will make your inner personality more negative, to think more negatively. So what we can do is take a little time in the day to have a positive self-talk with yourself. You think you value yourself. Oh, I am worthy of loving, right? I'm worthy of living. My life is great. Okay? I can do many things. I can be more productive than I am. Okay? Always believe in yourself. This is one thing that I see in many people and many of our lives, that we can be more productive than now we are. Okay? We can be more productive and more successful than who we are now. Okay? So have a positive self-talk. Then it will make you a big change in the long run. So practice these little simple practices in your day and make your life a better one. Namo Buddhaya.
Namo Buddhaya. Welcome to another video. Sometimes, no matter how many people are around us, we feel we're the only person that living in this world. We feel lonely. We feel left out. Loneliness can be dangerous if we did not know how to handle it. But one thing that we don't realize is the same loneliness that is killing us, the same loneliness that disturbs us, can be changed into a blessing in life. Always remember, every challenge and every difficult situation that comes into your life can be changed into a blessing if you know how to handle it. So from this video, let's talk about how can we deal with the loneliness in life, and how can we change this loneliness to a blessing in our life. To deal with loneliness, first of all, we need to understand what is the reason behind the loneliness. Now, so many people think that the loneliness or the suffering that you feel depends on other people, right? Depends on an outer source. When people leave you, when you are separated from your loved ones, you feel lonely. But that is not always case, because even in the middle of relationships, even when you're being with other people, even when you're being with your family members, you might feel lonely. Because the loneliness does not occur because of other people or an outer source. Loneliness occurs when your interactions with other people does not match your desires or does not match your expectations. And that expectation creates the vacuum of that missingness in life, and that creates the suffering. So the Buddha says that the loneliness or this suffering does not depend on an outer source, but also it depends on an inner problem. So the Buddha mentions this in Dhammapada, verse 338. The Buddha says, just as a tree, though cut down, sprouts up again if its root remain uncut and firm. Even so, until the craving that lies dormant is rooted out, suffering springs up again and again. So Buddha refers this to a tree, right? If a person comes to a tree and if he needs to remove the tree, so what he does is he cut down the tree from the trunk. Okay, no matter how many times you cut down the tree from the trunk, it will grow back. Because what is the reason? Because the root system is there still. As long as the root system is rooted on the ground, in the ground, the tree will grow back again and again. So the Buddha says, as long as the reason or the root cause for suffering is there, the suffering will spring up again and again. So what we have done in our whole life is trying to kill loneliness, but not the reason for the loneliness, right? So, first of all, we need to understand that keeping your happiness, keeping your total happiness on other people and expecting other people to be around you totally and expecting other people to live up to your expectations is not going to happen all the time. And that creates the suffering and that creates the loneliness. So, one thing that we need to understand is that loneliness does not always depend on an outer source. It depends on the cravings and the desires and the expectations that we are holding onto the interactions with other people. Okay, so luckily, because of this, we can change and we can convert this loneliness to a blessing. Okay, so how to do this? First of all, we need to change the perspective that we are holding onto the loneliness. So let me tell you a story about this. In the Buddha's time, before his enlightenment, he was practicing a practice called self-mortification. In this time, there were 5 monks who were helping to the Buddha. Now, these 5 monks had a lot of expectations on the Buddha that one day he will become enlightened and we will be also able to listen to his teachings and be enlightened. So he was practicing that, and they believed that the self-mortification or giving a lot of suffering to the body is the only way to find the liberation. But alas, one day the Buddha gave up this practice of self-mortification after practicing it for a long time. But the Buddha gave up this practice by understanding that this is no longer going to help him. And now all the expectations were destroyed. And these 5 monks were disappointed about the Buddha. So what they did, they left the Buddha and they went to Varanasi. And what happens to the Buddha was all alone in the middle of the jungle. He was abandoned. But here's the thing, he was not lonely. He was alone, but he was not lonely. Why? Because that loneliness, that silence, and that not being with around other people gave him the time to focus more into himself, right? So one thing that we need to understand is that when we feel lonely, it is an opportunity for us to focus on ourselves, right? It is a better time for you to focus on other people, because most of the time when we are too much around other people, we don't get much time to be with ourselves, be in our own company. So one thing that we need to understand is that loneliness creates the time and opportunity for you to focus more on yourself. Okay, so if you hold on to that view and think that, oh, now I am lonely and then now I am alone, but now this is the chance for me to focus on my inner values, so that you can build up your inner values, and you can care more about yourself, and you can focus on your what mistakes that do I have inside my life, what should I do and what should I practice. The more you focus onto yourself, you can develop and you get the chance to develop your inner habits and good values into you, so that it creates a better personality inside you. So understand that the loneliness or not being around other people is not always a suffering. It is an opportunity for all of you to build up a better life. So what you have to do, get this time and take this opportunity for you to be more focused into yourself and to practice this self-love, self-compassion, and also to build up good habits in your life. If you understand this way of dealing with loneliness, the loneliness will become a blessing to your life. And one day you will thank for that loneliness, because it created who you are today. So understand that loneliness does not always depend on other people. It always depends on what weave you're holding onto this experience in life. So be more focused onto yourself, into yourself, and create a better life for you. Namo Buddhaya. Namo Buddhaya. It is quite easy to be patient and to be calm when the life goes smoothly. But where our real patience comes into test is in the middle of adversity. I know it is very difficult to practice patience for all of us. It is easier to say to be patient. It is easier to advise to be patient, but it is easy to, and also it is easy to talk about patience, but to practice this quality, it is really, really challenges for every one of us. So although it is difficult, although it is challenging, we have to practice this amazing quality that brings the happiness and the calmness and peace to our life. So let's talk about how to practice patience according to Buddha's teachings. So in Buddhism, patience is considered as the greatest virtue. In Dhammapada, verse number 184, the Buddha says, patience is the highest virtue. The Buddhas say that Nibbana is supreme. And the one who harms others is not a monk. And one who destroys others is not a monk. So in Buddhism, a bigger space and a bigger value is given to the patience and to practice the patience as the practice of patience as an inner quality. Not just to talk about it, not just to read about it or to learn about it, but the real practice. So in Buddhism, the greatest quality in Buddhism, the greatest virtue is considered as the patience also. So what exactly is patience? The Buddha describes this as follows. And what's the patience practice? It is when a bhikkhu endures cold, heat, hunger, and thirst. They endure the touch of flies, mosquitoes, wind, sun, and reptiles. They endure rude and unwelcome criticism, and they put up with physical pain, sharp, severe, acute, and unpleasant, disagreeable, and life-threatening. This is called the patience practice. In another sutta, the Buddha explains about the patience as follows. What is the patient practice? It is when someone abuses, annoys, or argues with you, and you don't abuse, annoy, or argue back at them. This is called the patience practice. So being able to put up with ups and downs and challenging situations and disagreeable experiences in life is called patience. But to be honest, it is really difficult to be patient. Yes, it is difficult. It is going to be difficult, and it will be always difficult. It will never be easy, because that's the nature of all good practices in life. The Buddha said, what brings the happiness to your life? To practice such qualities is the most difficult thing that you have to do in your life. But although it is difficult, we all have to practice this amazing quality of being patient. Now, in Buddhism, being silent, tolerating, and enduring everything out of fear does not mean the real patience. In Buddhism, the real patience comes with a deeper meaning of life. When someone has a deeper meaning of his life, and when someone has knows the true nature of life, then it's very easy for that person to be patient and to practice the amazing quality of patience. Normally, when we tolerate and when we become silent, the reason why we become silent is because of the fear. Sometimes we have no choice to do anything, right? In that case, we become silent. But the Buddha says that that is not the true patience. Someone can see such kind of a person and say, oh, he is patient. But that's not the true patience, because that person doesn't have the power. That person doesn't have the authority to do something, right? So being patient out of fear is not the true patience. The Buddha says about the real patience like this. In Vepachiti Sutta, it is mentioned, when a person endowed with strength patiently endures a weakling, they call that the supreme patience. The weakling must be patient always. So the real patience comes when you understand that there is the beast inside you. What is that beast? The anger. And if you're afraid of that anger, And if you're afraid of that beast to control your life, and if you can be patient in that situation by controlling your emotions and controlling your thoughts and controlling your anger and deciding to not to harm that person, that is called the true patience and the real patience. To practice such kind of a patience, you have to have to do a great dedication. Sometimes you have to go through a lot of hardships. You have to endure a lot. But still, why you become patient? Because you believe that being patient is the greatest virtue that you can practice in life. And you believe that you are much more better than them. And you have a better qualities than them. If you believe in that, you can truly be patient. To practice patience, the Buddha offers us a path of thinking in a more deeper level of understanding through our life. So suppose a person comes to you and treat you with rude words, right? Or treat you with their meanness. How can you avoid that situation without even worrying? How to do that? So the Buddha teaches us to look at this situation through the 3 marks of existence. So what are 3 marks of existence? So the Buddha says the 3 marks of existence are anicca, dukkha, and anatta. Impermanence, suffering, and non-self. So anicca. Anicca is the understanding about the impermanence. So the Buddha said that everything in life is subjected to change. If you look at our life, there is nothing that we can hold on to and think and find that is not subjected to change. So once you understanding this intrinsic nature or the inherent nature of impermanence, it's very easy to let go of that anger and to be patient. Because let's say someone blamed you or someone treated you with rude words, okay? Right at the moment that you heard that voice, those words, they became impermanent, right? But here's the problem. Why does we hear the same thing again and again, what they said in our mind, and we keep creating that chain of thought, and we keep creating that anger in our mind? Because the mind has the nature to recreate everything that we heard or what we experienced. Okay, so we think that they abused me, they hurt me, and they treated me with these rude words, so I should not be treated like this. But in reality, those words had been impermanent now. They have been vanished. For an example, the words that you heard from me before, now everything has been vanished. They don't exist. That's the reality of life. But once you're understanding this true and intrinsic nature of impermanence, it's very easy to let go of the anger because you don't find anything to hold on to now. What is the word that we have to hold on to now in this moment to be angry? No, it has gone. So once you understand this true nature of impermanence, it's very easy to practice patience. And the second thing that we have to understand is dukkha. Dukkha often refers to as suffering. So the Buddha said that the pain and suffering is a part of our life. So you cannot remove that. We have to face that situation, okay? Because that is the nature of living. The nature of life is, it is always connected or characterized by the pain or suffering. This is not to worry about the pain or the suffering, but to see it as a part of life and accept it, learn to be with it, learn to deal with it. That is how we can understand the suffering. And the final thing that we have to realize and understanding is the nature of anatta. The nature of anatta is the nature of not self or non-self, right? The Buddha says that there are things in your life that are out of your control. Not every time you're going to have everything according to your wishes. Okay, there are things that are out of our range of control. Once we understand this true nature of another or non-self, it is really easy to accept the truth in life. And it is very easy to not to worry about the things that we cannot control. So if you look at the life, if you look at the situations in your life, in these three marks of existence, the Buddha said that it is really easy to practice the patience. It is really easy to love people, to give your kindness to people, because we know that we are not going to last forever, and we know that they are not going to last forever. What they did was not going to last forever. What they said was not going to last forever. So we can let go of the anger and we can move on. So these are the few things and few realizations that will help us to practice the patience in your life. So keep this in your mind and be patient. Namo Buddhaya. One of the most frequent questions that I get asked from people is that people say that I fall in love with this person and I get too much attached to him or her, and it hurts both of us, right? It hurts me and to the other person. How can I love someone without getting attached to that person? That is one of the frequent questions that people ask from me. Well, to understand about this, first of all, you need to understand what is the difference between love and attachment. I'll tell you the difference. If you're in love with someone, if you fall in love with someone, this means the pure love, the love, I would say. You say that I need you to be happy. Okay? That's what you say. I need you to be happy. If that happiness includes me, that's much better. If it does not include me, it's okay. Anyway, I need you to be happy in your life. That is love. And in attachment, you say, you need to make me happy. Okay? If they are not able to make you happy, then what do you say? Why aren't you making me happy? Okay? The love you give to me and the things that you do to me is not enough. That's what you say. That is called attachment. Okay? So did you see the difference? That means in love, you think about other people's happiness. Okay? As a result of thinking other people's happiness or wishing other people's happiness, you get the same thing back. Okay? But in an attachment, you wish your own happiness. Only that. You become, it's a form of selfishness. Okay? So this is the difference between love and attachment. So how attachment happens? Here's how it happens. You see this person and you think like, oh, he or she is perfect for me. He's the best thing for me. And I want to be with that person forever. I need to be with him or her forever. I don't want to let that person go off my life. Okay? I don't want let that person to leave my life. I need to be with that person. In that case, you hold on to that person tightly. Okay? You grab that person and you don't want to let go of that person. Then what you do in the next step, you try to protect him or her. Okay? Sometimes you overprotect him or her. So some people, they put restrictions. Okay, you should not use social media. You should not go and talk with other people, right? You should not come out of house. Remember, the more you try to hold on to someone's life, okay, and the more you try to control someone's life, chances are very, very high for you to lose that person. Because if you dive into the Buddha's teachings, okay, when you dive in deep into Buddha's teachings, Buddha says that you live in your own private world as well as others. Okay? Same like you, other people are also living in their private world. You create your own private world. You create your own happiness. You create your own sadness. And everything that you create is created by yourself. Okay? Your world is created by yourself. So it goes same with others. Okay? They are living in their private world. Okay? Same as you like to be happy and same as you like to be free, those people around you likes to be happy and free. Okay, so what happens when you try to put restrictions on someone? What happens is they don't like it. Okay, no one likes to be totally under control of someone. Okay, they need to have some sort of freedom in their life. So chances are very high for you to lose that person if you try to protect and overprotect and hold on to it and hold on to that person, and you think like, I need to be with that person. And what happens next is you become afraid of losing that person. You think, what if this guy or this person leave me? Okay, what will happen to me? Okay, my whole world will be a disaster. Okay, remember, the reality of life is no one in this world is permanent. Okay, everyone, everything, every experience in this life is subjected to change. That is the reality of life. So that is how attachment happens. But in love, you come to the reality. Okay, when you love someone correctly and purely without too much attachment, you come to this reality, to this real world. You know that these people around me are not going to live forever with me. It's not going to happen. Now, one of the things that Buddha advised us to remember every time, every single day, and every single time it is possible to remember, Buddha said, remember that everyone around you, okay, every person who loves you and who you love is going to leave you. Okay, you have to be separated from these people. I know it is painful. It is difficult to think because we love people, okay? We're afraid of losing them. But one day, in one way or another, okay, in sooner or later, this will happen. At least at the death, it will happen. So we have to leave these people around us. Okay, we are not going to live forever. So when you realize that is the reality. Okay, when you realize that, you come to the reality and think, okay, I have a very, very little time with these people. Actually, the life is short. Okay, if nothing happened to us, we will live only for maybe like 85 years. Who knows? Okay, so life is very short. Then you know that I'm not going to live with this person forever. So what do? You show your love, affection, kindness, and compassion to this person in the best way that you can in this little time, because you know that you have a very little time. Okay, so to love someone, you need to understand the reality of life. What is the reality of life? Everything is subjected to change. Okay, everything is ever changing. That is called anicca in Buddhism. Okay, it is not permanent, it is impermanent. The second thing is that everyone in their own world is suffering. Okay, we suffer in our own private worlds, right? So we have our own private and personal sufferings, same like that others also are suffering in their life. Okay, so if we expect that other people to fulfill all the needs and all the requirements 100% in our life, that's not going to happen. Realize it, okay? Because everyone personally is going through suffering. Understand about this. That is called dukkha. And the third one is that no one in this world is totally under your control. You cannot control people around you totally. Okay, that is called anatta. You're out of control of this world. Okay, the problem is we worry about the people that we cannot control. Okay, can you control people's behavior? No, you cannot do that. Can you control how people behave and how people treat you, how people talk to you, how people think about you? No, that is their own business. Okay, so what you can control is how you live in your life, the way you live in your personal life. That is totally under your control. So understand these three things. What is that? Everything is subjected to change.
Everyone is suffering in their own worlds, and not everyone in this world is totally under your control. This is called the truth in this life. This is called the reality in this life. Once you understand this, you know and you will learn how to be compassionate on people. Okay? How to love people. And then you can wish, no matter what happens to you, if you stay with me or if you did not stay with me, it's okay. I wish the good of you. I wish the happiness of you. Okay? Then that love will never hurt you. Okay? But attachment, when you get too much attached to people, it will definitely hurt you. So wish the good for everyone, wish the happiness on everyone, and then you will find the peaceness that you're seeking for in your life. Namo Buddhaya.
Namo Buddhaya. Welcome to another video. Today, from this video, let's talk about the benefits of practicing mindfulness and how mindfulness benefits for our daily Buddhist practice. Now, what should be practiced in Buddhism as Buddhist practice is Sila, Samadhi, and Prajna. These are the three practices that we practice in all through Buddhism. In whatever the state we are in, we practice these three practices. Sila is the virtuous behavior or moral conduct. And we've discussed about Sila in a separate video. If you haven't watched it, and if you don't know what Sila is, you can watch it right here. So Sila is basically the ethical and the moral conduct, or in another word, virtuous behavior, or being disciplined by your body and by your words. So mindfulness helps us to practice Sila in a good way, in a more productive way. And also the second practice is Samadhi. Samadhi is the mental concentration, being able to be in practice the one-pointedness in our mind and to practice that tranquility in our mind. It's called the Samadhi. And final practice is Prajna. Prajna means the wisdom, understanding about the true nature of life and fully understanding about the three marks of existence, the anicca, the impermanence, dukkha, that's the suffering, and anatta is the non-self. So how mindfulness helps to practice these things. First of all, let's talk about how mindfulness benefits to practice the Sila. Now, Sila is the virtuous behavior, as we said before. So before talking about these things, let's learn about what mindfulness is. Mindfulness is the practice of or ability to be fully aware in this present moment with more wholesome mindset. When you practice mindfulness, it is really, really easy to practice Sila. Why? Because Sila is all about being disciplined from your body and from your words. So if you're mindful about your bodily actions, what you are going to do, okay, and what you are going to say, then you keep a good gatekeeper to your actions. Now, sati is oftenly referred to as mindfulness in Buddhism, and the Buddha said that sati is like a gatekeeper to your mind, or the mindfulness is like a gatekeeper to your mind. So what does a gatekeeper do? The gatekeeper watches and recognizes what comes in or who comes in and who goes out a certain place. So practicing mindfulness is like keeping a gatekeeper to your actions and your words and your thoughts. So if you are aware of what you are doing, right, and if you know before what you are doing, and if you know what you're doing before doing, and if you know what you're saying before saying, by being mindful and by being aware, then it is very easy to control the unwholesome actions and unwholesome thoughts and unwholesome words that occurs in our life. And this helps us to be disciplined from our body, to be disciplined from our words, and it will be easy to practice the virtuous behavior, and our practice of Sila will be even more productive. So that is how the mindfulness helps us to practice Sila. And also the second practice, how mindfulness helps us to practice Samadhi, or the concentration. Now, when you take the 4 foundations of mindfulness, there are 4 foundations of mindfulness according to Buddhism. Being mindful about your body is one foundation. That's the first foundation. Second one is being mindful about your feelings. And the third one is being mindful about your mental actions or the thoughts. And then being mindful about the mental objects, right? Like such as concepts and ideas and thoughts. So these 4 foundations of mindfulness, in the beginning, the Buddha teaches us how to be tranquilized. Okay, how to concentrate your mind. For an example, if you refer to Kayanupassana, the first practice of Kayanupassana is Anapanasati, or the breathing meditation, being mindful about the breathing. So the Buddha doesn't dive into the deep end at first to realize the true nature or the impermanence nature of the breath. The first thing that the Buddha says us or instruct us to do is to be mindfully breathe in and mindfully breathe out. Okay? Just be mindful when you breathe in and be mindful when you breathe out. Now, when you do this, your mind will be tranquilized. And it has the nature of bringing the calmness and bringing that serenity to your mind. So, mindfulness will lead you to practice the samadhi. Samadhi means the tranquilized nature of your mind, peacefulness in your mind. And also, as the final practice, it is the prajna or the panya in Buddhism. Prajna or panya is the realization of the true nature of life, realization of the 3 marks of existence in life. So, what are the 3 marks of existence in life? First one is anicca, the nature of impermanence. Second one is dukkha, the nature of unsatisfiedness or the nature of suffering. And the third one is anatta, the nature of non-self. Now, to do this, to realize this true nature, you need to have a good wisdom. To have a good wisdom, you have to have a good practice of mindfulness. Mindfulness helps you to focus your mind into one part of your life. And it's very easy to realize the true nature, the impermanence nature, once the mind is mindful and tranquilized. It's something like this. Let's say you're traveling in a train, okay? And you see all the sceneries in a very fast paced, and it's more like a motion blurred version. We don't see the real images. Okay, everything is blurred. So to realize and to see what the real nature and the real sceneries of around us, what we have to do, we have to get down from the train. We have to come into one place and to see and to enjoy that one nature of the life. So to do that, what we have to do, we have to come into one place and to focus on one thing at a time. To do that, the mindfulness helps us. And finally, how mindfulness helps us to practice the wisdom or the prajna. So the prajna is the ability to realize the true nature of our life. The true nature of our life is the impermanence. And the true nature of the existence is these 3 marks of existence. The impermanence nature, and the suffering nature, and the non-self nature. So to realize these 3 natures, what we have, we need to have a tranquilized mind and a well-focused mind and a good awareness. So practice of mindfulness will help us to bring the awareness to our life. So that will help us to bring more wisdom and to see the life in a more wiser way and a more profound way by practicing the mindfulness. So this is how the practice of mindfulness helps us to be more productive in Buddhist practice. So let's all practice this amazing practice of mindfulness in our life. Namo Buddhaya.